then I'll start blabbing. Oh, exciting. So welcome to our catch up today, where I'm really excited that Karen has joined us, for AKA the pink haired lady. I want to start, Karen, before I even introduce what we're talking about today. What I love, and it really links very well to the conversation we're going to be having, is that you are the pink haired lady. It's like people don't even need to remember your name. They just know, hey, have you spoken to or have you met? Or do you know the pink haired lady? Because you need to, like, you're already introduced to the room before people have to remember your name. And I absolutely love that about you. And I think that might come out a little bit when we talk a bit later around things to do with niche and stuff like that. But yeah, I just love that I know you as the pink haired lady as opposed to Karen. So yes, I'm really excited that you've joined us today. And I, when I connected with you at the beginning of the week, and I know that you're very passionate and very knowledgeable in the space of networking and growing your business. And I know that's a challenge for a lot of people in the NDIS home care space. We maybe know exactly, we're amazing at what we do. We're very skilled and knowledgeable in our chosen profession, which is that caring profession, the disability support side of things, and we achieve amazing things, but it's sometimes challenging to really grow our business and let people know how amazing we are if we don't know how to tell people. So yeah, hopefully by the end of today, people will walk away with some ideas about how they can transfer their skill and ability into letting the world or even just the local community know about them. So welcome, Karen. Thank you for coming along today.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and help as many people as possibly I can. And it's quite funny when I first started and had donned the pink hair and it's just become my identity. And it really is funny. I had a provider friend, like, oh, do you know Karen Lorenzo, which that's my full name? And they're like, who's that? They're like, the pink haired lady, like, ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. We know who that is. And it was just quite funny, but it is kind of in a good way because, Karens kind of have a bad rap. But I've always said that I'm a unicorn Karen. I'm not one of those Karens that are out in the world. But it's so beautiful to be here and supporting your group as well. And I really enjoyed our conversation and just can't wait to tell you, I guess, about like networking and, niche is so important in our space to really, I get really excited when I meet a provider that, knows exactly kind of who they are. Like they come out the gate and they're like, I do this and I do this really well. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. I get really excited because I'm like, yeah, you go guys, like, you know what you're doing. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, I only met you like a minute ago type of thing. It can be such a wonderful thing when people have that conviction and they know who they are, what they do and how they can do it so well. It's a magical feeling instead of, sometimes when you meet providers and they're not sure, and that's completely okay. You're not going to not always know that. And sometimes it's testing the waters when you go to a networking event because maybe you're not exactly ready to step out, but you've got to step out. At the end of the day, you can't, as we said, you can't sit behind a computer and wish for things to kind of happen. You've really got to be active.
So true. And so people that I connect with and people in this group are all at varying stages. Some might be thinking about taking that step to either working as a sole trader or setting themselves up in business. Some people may have a few clients but just really want to grow things. But a question I hear time and time again, and I'm sure you feel the same, Karen, is that people are like, where do I find, like, I'm ready, I'm here to go. Like some people say, I'm registered, I'm here to go, I've opened my doors, and they just hear crickets. Like there's just nothing happening.
You see that so much, like on socials, like I've got my registration, and like, some of the groups out there are very intense, in regards to, like they're all like, oh, congrats, like, but they're not going to help you. Like, and it's really like, and it can be disheartening. Like, and I really don't think we need to be in that way. But I think really, I guess is before that step of actually like, going, I'm registered, I'm this, I'm that. These are the services they do. Like to me, I look at a lot of profiles and I look at a lot of, Facebooks and websites and other things like that through, looking at social media, and I see like I get saddened because I see a provider who's just registered and I'm like, cool. And then I go look at their website and I'm like, I know nothing about who they actually are. There's no story. There's no hook, line, and sinker of me going, oh, I want to know more. It's just like, these are my services. We've come here because we care and we're empathetic, and we're maybe an ex, maybe you're a support worker, or maybe you were like a nurse, or like whatever the reason is to being into the industry. To me, that saddens me, because it's like they kind of go full hog into doing, marketing and advertising, but it's kind of like, I call it the PowerPoint slides. So it's like, we've got the services, but there's no, like, if you look back on the social media, there's no actual story about like who that person is, what they're all about. So to me, that's really important in this space, especially like when you're doing social media, but also when you're doing networking, because when you meet someone and they're like, like I met this lady in Sydney and she was like, hi, can't remember her name. I do remember her name, but I won't use it. I'll be like, hi, I'm Belinda, and I have, and I'm an continence nurse, and that's all I do. And I was like, I just remembered this lady because she was just fierce, and she was like, this is what I do and this is who I am. And also she had a really cool jacket that probably helped as well. But like, it was just like, but she was like on point, knowing who she was, and she was like, this is what I just do. And I was like, cool, like I know. And that's from probably a year ago I met her, and like that's how I remembered who she was.
I love that you just said that you remember her for her jacket. I read something a few days ago that was, if you go to networking, women look for shoes. So I don't know what it is, but it's something about shoes for women, and I don't know, I can't remember what it was for men.
I always look for color, like because I'm really colorful. Like, it's funny though. I feel like sometimes like providers I know, I'm like, they're like, I brought it for you, Karen. I'm like, oh, okay, like it's so good. Like, you can't top me, honey. I'm like, I look like a color.
I'm not suggesting everyone goes out and dyes their hair pink to be recognizable, but to do something like to stay away from that kind of black, blue, kind of like dull. You want like something that stands out a little bit.
Well, because you want to, like, if you're an introvert, like that's a great way to put yourself out there without putting yourself out there and being like, because you're not going to be, like if you're an introvert, you're not going to be the loudest person there, because you're going to be like probably the person in the corner going, oh my God, this is so anxiety driven, type thing. But like I always say to providers is like, when you go to a networking event, and this comes back to also like knowing your business and knowing your niche, is think about 3 amazing things that you can potentially talk to a person about. So like it's about, because essentially you're trying to sell yourself and sell your business, but at the end of the day, networking also it's not really selling, but we have to sell, but it's more about building the relationships. But if you can think about 3 amazing things about your business, it could be like, okay, so for instance, they're nurses, and it's like, well, we are like, we have extensive experience in like the nursing, not just in Australia, in multiple different other, places around the world. We focus really on, it could be high intensity clients. That's who we focus on. And then this is the area that we really focus on. And, the reason why we've done this is because, we've been around the world and, we've seen what is needed in this, what we know now is needed in the space, and what we can do and how we can bring it. We understand that with nurses that you have so much different skills. Like, you meet nurses, like I've met a couple nurses, they're from Zimbabwe, but then they went to England and they went to Australia. And then other people have like, I know, gone every which way possible. And they've gained, like every nurse that you meet will always have different experience and different knowledge banks. So it's like, it's really kind of like, I guess, networking and selling yourself essentially like through social media and doing all those kind of things, and knowing your niche is very much about, the way I think about it, it's like telling your story. So like,
so what you just explained around that kind of nurse example, is that what you mean by telling your story? Like,
yeah,
is it really that simple?
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's I know it's crazy, but it's like simple works.
Like, talk about myself.
It works so well, like telling your story.
So I know as an extrovert, like I can talk till the cows come home, and I can go and tell my story and probably really elevate it to higher levels than probably the real truth and reality. But what if I was more introverted and I didn't really like, kind of like I'd rather just hide behind a computer.
I would have it on a flyer. Like I would have it on the flyer so that you don't, and like once you get comfortable, and it's kind of like that old thing of like, I don't know if you ever did this, but like, I mean, I did it many moons ago when I was in my younger years, when I was going for job interviews. It would be like, you would literally like, you know, to answer the question, you would stand in front of a mirror to make sure that what you were saying, you didn't look like a, you know, I call it dingleberry, like, you know, you didn't look stupid when you were like, you know, oh, like I'm trying to like, I remember years ago, a young girl, she was trying to apply for reception jobs and we couldn't figure out why she wasn't getting it. She was really bubbly and she was really lovely and she had the experience. We did like a video interview. It's like back in the day, we did the video interview and I got my colleague to do the interview with it. We figured out why, is that her face looked like she was just like really grumpy.
Resting RTCH face.
Yeah, that one. And the thing is, like, she couldn't, and that's the thing, we couldn't figure out why she wasn't getting it. And then once we showed it to her, she was like, oh my God. Yeah. My internal thoughts of, because she was so anxious, she was like projecting it through her face. And so we were like, you got to stop that. And the way that we helped her to stop that is we got her to practice in front of a mirror to be able to see what her face is. So sometimes, I know it sounds very old school, but it does work and it makes you feel a bit more confident.
Love that. And I love that idea, that kind of role play thing. Like you say, like, I know we're talking here about network and face-to-face, but I hadn't realized a number of years ago that when I was on the phone, I was very monotone and
yeah, you don't realize.
And I was like, oh wow, I hadn't realized. And like, you know, that idea, you know, if you read any sales stuff, it's like if you're about to make a phone call, just put a smile on your face, because
it's like you have your phone voice. You're like, hello, this is Karen Lorenzo. Like, or I go, hello, pink haired lady here. You know, and you just don't realize, you know, and I think that the thing is, and I think you have to realize as well with networking, it's not every, like, even if you meet people who are like, you think, oh my God, they're so experienced, or they know their stuff and they're just like so full on, they're probably petrified as well inside. They just got better ways to cope and deal with it. But like, if you, like, I think it's like anything, don't put people on a pedestal. Don't look at someone and being like, oh my God, oh, like that person is like this or that. Just remember, they're just like you and I. It doesn't matter if you meet. Like at the end of the day, we are all CEOs of our company. So it's not like, even if you meet someone who's like a CEO of like a major, like large organization, they still like, they probably, like I've met CEOs who are like, I don't want to go to networking because I hate talking to people. Yeah. Like they really get anxious and they're like, and you don't realize it. It's like, because I guess because they've gotten up to a certain point, they're like, well, I don't have to do that anymore because I've got BDMs or other things like that, where that's not their forte. But like having a one-to-one, they could talk to the cows come home. But being in any big like event scares the bejeebus out of them. So,
and that's the thing. So I suppose I'd like to ask you the question, Karen, like from a network, I come across a number of people who are fantastic support workers. They've maybe been employed by a company and they think, geez, I can do such a great job. But their barrier to entry is actually just sometimes finding those clients, because they know when they find those people, it's going to be amazing. And I think sometimes where we're overwhelmed, we know what our goal is. We want to find clients. But kind of like, I suppose, go back right to the beginning, like almost believing that people have zero business knowledge. Like, what is the value of networking? How can, I know this might sound like a stupid question to some, but how can networking help you to find clients?
Never a stupid question at all. But to me, it is about getting your brand out there. So like, even if you're a sole trader, you still have a brand. You should have a brand still. You should be like, whatever your name is, your business, that's what, your brand is. So like, if you don't go out there, no one will know who you are. And the good communities that are out there, like Connect Fest, they are very big on like, I'm very big on, and also the people in my community are very big on, like, let's help each other out. Like, that's actually, if we get to meet, we meet a new provider and we've met, and I've been at events that I've held, and, we've had those sole traders or even small, medium businesses that have kind of come in and they're just like, they look like frightened little lambs and they're just, I don't know what, this is so scary. And it's like the welcomingness of it is just so infectious. What really, I guess the benefits of going and networking is, A, you get your brand out there, people get to know who you are. you get to, I guess, in a way, talk about what you're doing, and even also as well asking in the group, like in our events, we have a bit of a different style, and we actually, everyone goes around the circle and essentially gets to say, you know, where they're from, what they do, and what they need help with. And I'm very big on like, guys, what can we help this person with? And it could be like, you know, that person's like, oh, well, I'm really new and I'm finding it really hard to get clients and things like that. No one's like, oh, you know how you see on social media groups, they're all like, going to attack you, and it's a bit intense, you know. It's like, well, like, to me it goes back to your niche. So it's like, okay, say for instance you were a SLES provider, and to me your cohort is parents. So you have to figure out, okay, well, where do parents go? Like, okay, well, parents are at, you know, yes, it's to do with the school stuff, but you know, talking to different parent groups, or talking to the schools, talking to, you know, PNCs, talking to more private schools rather than public schools, because it's a bit easier and things like that, because they have a bit more, it's a different kind of world within the private to the public and things like that. So it's always about, so instead of, I guess, it's learning about, you get to learn those skills when you're networking, and you can always ask those questions. I know definitely with Connect Fest that we are more than happy to offer any advice and support. And, you know, even as well, I've seen in the circle of connection is that providers of, like, there was a provider that was wanting to get into, where was it? Oh, for criminals. So like people who are coming out of jail and things like that. So we're criminals. Are criminals. I don't know what the way is. Recovering criminals. Hopefully they're not going back. Hopefully we can help them to support them not to go back to jail. But like it was really great, because we were at actually a disability employment services place, and they were like, actually we can run a program to help people who have just come out of jail. And so that meant that that person got that connection for that, of just asking the question instead of, you know, I guess if you just sat at home and you just wondered, nothing would actually ever happen. You know, like you've got to, I'm very big on like, you have to put effort, and you have to, you know, it's like with social media and knowing your niche and doing all those things, you've got to work on that. But you're also as well, like when you're going networking, you have to, figure out if it's a safe space, to ask the question, but making, I definitely, hand on heart can say, I don't know which one's on heart, but hand on Girl Guide or whatever it is, that I'm more than happy for anyone to ask me that question. I'm more than happy to think of different ideas to support them. I think to me it's about, it helps with lead generation as well, because you're, you know, it's not always going to happen that you're going to get referrals at a networking event. I think that's where you have to kind of take that out of your mind. It
can be a slow burn. You might meet somebody today, but you don't hear from them for a month, 5, it might be 6 months or a year in the future, but you've made that connection today with your pink hair or whatever it might be. And I think it's about standing out from the crowd. So everybody's there handing out business cards, and you walk away with a word and you go, oh, geez, I can't remember half of those people. So I always say to people, try and have something that will help you maybe stand out, or do that follow-up, because you can meet a number of people and go, and so if you do get the
follow-up as well.
It's to make sure that you follow up with those people and go, hey, and also just to jog them every now and again, because if you keep kind of going, hey, I'm still here, whether it's month in the future or before we came online, we were talking about those emails that we seem to receive from businesses every single day that drive us nuts. So we don't want to be annoying people.
Yeah.
But you do want to go, hey, I'm still here, and be that person. But what can I ask, like, if you know, I know sometimes I walk in the room at networking and I like, it's like a bit overwhelming. It's a new place. What do I do? Like, I always try and kind of like sidle up to somebody and like, hey.
It's like it can be really awkward. Like, I mean, I've seen it, and even for myself, I've been in circumstances where I'm like, cool, don't know anyone, this is awesome. I'm like, even I get nervous, even though I'm on my own events. It's funny. I'm a weird beast. I still get a bit nervous about, you know, when you go into an area and you're like, well, I don't actually know anyone. But yeah, I'm the type of person that either one or two things. I'll just go up and start randomly talk to someone that I've kind of like maybe met once and just be like, hey, like I kind of like I fake it to my make. I'm like, hey, how you going? I haven't seen you in yonkers, you know, like I start having a conversation and then my nerves go away and then I'm like, I'm all good. Or I go and speak to the, you know, the event host because I try and make contact with the event host prior to the actual event, just to be like, hey, you know, I bought a ticket. And I always say to any person that buys a ticket for my event, just to say, like, if you get really nervous and you need a wing woman or you need a hype person, just message me and say, hey, pink hair lady, I am feeling really anxious as all hell. Can you please just help me? And
that's a great. And I like even something like, oh, I love your hair. Like you can actually just find a compliment. Oh, I love your shoes, or I love your jacket, or something just to kind of break that ice and start the conversation. And I find if I'm really stuck, I'll say, like, I'll just ask people about them. So, you know, I don't know where you come from today, or what's your business, or just people love it when you ask them questions about them, and it's easy to ask other people questions.
It also relieves the stress as well. Like, so if you walk into like, or you see those providers and it's like they're all in a group, you know what I mean? And you're trying to like good people who can network well, they will like give a like they'll step back and you'll see that I can come into the group now. But yeah, you can. I always say, even when you're having to start a conversation with a provider, and that happens like with networking, or even when you have a one-to-one, is always ask them first and be like, because you want to actually get, like, I guess your ammo, so that you know, okay, well, who can I connect that person with after this? Also, like, how does my business align with that other business so that I can actually help them? Because at the end of the day, it's all about giving. And if you can't give a network, I always say give you know, if everybody gave like someone out of their network to connect that person together, just think about like the amazing effects that could actually happen and occur.
There's some psychology, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's the idea as humans, we're innately built. If somebody does something for us, we feel the need to do something back. So if you're referring somebody that you met from networking to somebody else, and like some people are like, well, why bother? Because there's nothing in it for me. But I think naturally as human beings, once you've given to others, people feel like, right, well, what can I, like Karen's done this thing for me, which is lovely. What can I give back to Karen as like an energy thank you? And I think I've seen that happen so many times. It's like, it's not about what's in it for me, but by making that referral, it does.
Giving. It's like if you give more, it will always come back. Like, I always think the karma always comes back, and it's just nice. Like if you can't give, say, a referral to someone, like if you're really fresh and new and you're like, I don't have anybody in my network, it's my first networking event, who the fudge am I going to refer? Well, give some of your knowledge. Like, say to them, it could be like even going to, like, I went to my local shopping center the other day and I meant to take a photo. I saw it and then I was like, I'm going to take a photo, but then I forgot to do it. But I was like, I'll go back next time. But they literally had like you a QR code to be able to see, okay, there was actually a really cool map. So it was like a virtual map, which I really loved. And I thought that's such a cool thing. And I was like, I meant to snap it, but I got sidetracked, as I do sometimes. And I was like, damn it, I forgot to do that. But those kind of things, or like I've been to I went to a library and they had like a sensory kind of like cool sensory thing, and I was just like, of all these like sensory tools and other things like that, it's like, take photos of that, share that to people so that you're still being active in what you're doing, but it's like you're still giving, but like, because you can't give us what what other people can give. But then at the next event, I'm sure you've made some great contacts. And I always say as well, after you've had a one-to-one with someone, always think to myself, this is what I do, I always go, oh, who can I connect that person in with? And I always say to them, I go, oh, hey, Helen, I'm actually going to connect you with this provider because I think this would be a really great connection for you to have. And then if you feel like, and this probably extroverts will probably do this more than an introvert would, but like if you practice saying it, hopefully it won't be as less intimidating. But just say, hey, you heard about we connected at Connect Fest. We've had this 101. Do you think there's anyone in your network that, you think that I would
love it. Just ask. We don't ask, do we? We don't ask for referral.
No one asks. Everybody is like,
and I love the idea. I think networking is a great introduction. It's like, hi, nice to meet you. Shake your hand, metaphorically speaking. But the value is in the online I've been to a few networking events recently, and you often don't get much of a chance. And so it's really important we talked about the idea of following up, but even that, just like we're doing now, just this kind of online conversation, it doesn't need to be long, 15, 20 minutes. Just, hey, I just want to learn a little bit more about you, because I think if you follow up with those phone calls, online chats, coffee if you're in the area type stuff, you kind of build that relationship and that kind of trust.
Well, the trust builds. You can't think that I go to and I've met providers like this of all kinds. I've gone to a networking event. Where's I hate this word, return of investment. Like, I'm just like, I know that it's very businessy, but I'm like, no, because I'm like, you cannot quantify when you go to a networking event that you're going to get like all these mad referrals, because like, what if the person, and not to be mean, but what if that person really sucks at networking and like they go to it and like I've met providers that are like, hi, how are you? I'm really like in your face, and you're like, and then people are talking and they're like, hey, I have a great service, and you're like, cool, you need to like take a step back, stop being in my face, because you're just like, and I had one lady years ago that actually did that, and I actually had people comment to me after the event. I was like, I would not actually connect with her because she was just so in your face, but she was very rude in the approach that she did. I think it was like kind of like the mirror in the face. She didn't actually realize what she was doing. Or maybe she did, but like it really didn't work for her in regards to doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like needing to like, but I always say to people, also be yourself. Like, don't try and be what you think society requires.
Yeah, people see through that really fast, don't they? So tell me a little bit about Connect Fest. What is it? What do you do? How do you do it? How can it help people?
Yeah, for sure. So I started back in 2021 doing like lots of little small events, and I did them for free and things like that. 2022, I actually went to a big expo with my husband, and he's like, oh, babe, you can do something bigger on this. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready to do that with participants yet. I'm just like, that scares me a little bit. I was not ready for that, but I wanted to do something that was on a bigger scale to promote providers and to get them to be sponsors and for it to be affordable, so it wasn't costing you an arm and a leg to actually be a sponsor.
Networking and sponsorship can be a very expensive process.
To be a sponsor are like some of the big, I know it's an expo, mine are not expos, they're like more smaller intimate events. It can be up to like, I think for a booth it was like $3,000, and like for a big booth is like $20,000, and I'm just like
out of this world for a number of people. Yeah.
To me it's crazy. I would never spend that amount of money on anything to do that, and so it kind of has evolved through the years of doing like these bigger events and things like that. And as I've kind of like, this year has been, as we know, the NDIS has been like a whirlwind of oddness. I call it like a different beast. It really is from last year. Like, I went Australia wide apart from 2 different states doing my provider to provider events, really helping providers out and getting connected. And I did have it as that it was a cost for a ticket and for the sponsor. But just as of actually today, I've been working on just from feedback, because I know how the industry is at the moment. And I'm just like, what can I do I'm very big on, and maybe it's to my detriment, but I'm very big on how can I help and support providers the best way possible. And to me, I'm like, I don't want networking to be a dying art. Like, I feel like I'm so passionate about it. It's so like
it was how my business grew, was just from networking, just that, plain and simple.
Like, I have seen so much growth in providers that have been part of Connect Fest, and people who've been on my journey, from that get-go of me doing those little small events, to being now, and seeing how much they've grown, and they just keep on growing, and people know who they are. Like, I have a lady and I nicknamed her this. She didn't nickname herself this, I did. She was like the mental health queen, because she was she's a nurse and she does mental health, and she's just, and when I say Rhoda, the mental health queen, everybody like in Brisbane knows who I'm talking about, because that's what I named her. And she was like, oh fine, that's what my name is. You know, and it's just like, but it's stuck. So it's like, to me,
and I love that. I love, you know, the pink-haired lady, the mental health queen. Like, yeah, you stand out, and you're that person. I love it.
Yeah. So now the way that we're doing it is that we do have sponsorships, but we have it, which I'm really excited about. I'm just going to have a look at my phone because I'm like, I just changed it. So I'm like, I don't have all the details like cemented in my brain at the moment. So for Soul Traders, it's only $199 plus GST to actually be a sponsor. And so every sponsor, whatever the category of the tier that they're in, they get all the same. So it's just meaning that if you are a sole trader to a small to medium or a large provider, that's where the difference is within it. So what it is essentially is you get advertised before and after the event. We have we get to have a bit of a 10-minute conversation. So it's like a Q&A session in front of the providers, and it can be done anywhere. We can do it at a SIL property. We can do it at a function space. We can do it at a restaurant. We can do it, but it's super relaxed because literally, well, I have pink hair and I wear lots of rainbow. So I feel like I'm like the anti, you know, one. So it's never like, and it's what if a provider, we want to know why you started your business, what makes you unique, and tell us a little bit about. And so I ask questions to just try and get the most out of you. If you are like so nervous, like I have a provider who's like, I don't really like talking at the front there, Karen. I was like, that's fine. I'll do a little bit of an intro. We've also done like I have a provider that she does sensory stuff. And so we've done a show and tell, which that was so much fun. We've done that twice, and it was like, I got to hug like, you know, weighted teddies and stuff like that. And I look so happy because I am. But it's just fun. So we try to mix it up and make it the most, I guess, supportive of the providers. Or it could be like something, if a provider had something like information, not like knowledge that they want to give out for 10 minutes, we can do that as well. They also get as well all the email addresses for all the providers and things like that as well. So this is like our kind of, they used to be called provider events. They're kind of circle connect events type thing. So it's like the same thing. It's all about providers. And then sometimes we might have participants or families come along to it, but I allow it for them to be open if they want to come along, but it's predominantly for the provider to provider. So as I said, for the sole traders, it's $199. And then for a small and medium, it's $450 plus GST. And then for a larger provider, it's $650. So that's, to be a sponsor is super affordable. I mean, I know it's not affordable for everybody, but like you get pretty much, I guess it's like you get hyped at the beginning, you get hyped afterwards. We have photos. We, you know, take photos of me and the sponsor together. So that goes out to your social media. We get as a group photo, you get all these kind of connections, and we all just kind of come together and support each other. And the great thing about it, so after we've done like the sponsors talk, we kind of normally would be all be in a circle anyway, but we come together and then everybody gets to say, I'm from, you know, hi, I'm from here. This is what I do. What do I need help with? So I don't want, I guess, the attendees per se to have 10 minutes talking about their stuff. It's just more like a quick 3-minute of saying, this is who I am. You know, it's not War and Peace, but then being able to get the help that they need. And it's such like the brain trust of knowing what people can actually support and help each other is just amazing. So we've got those kind of events, and now we are, for the attendees, we used to have a price on it, but now it's free for them to attend, which is pretty cool. It just
so where are your events? What location are they in?
So we do them in Brisbane. I do sometimes Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, also Melbourne, Sydney. That's where I'm at the moment, but I'm more than happy as well. Like I do a lot of co-host events as well with providers. And so there's a small cost in regards to that, but it's like, it's more for them to be able to go, okay, well, if they have a space, let's use their space together. And then if they want to cover the food, then that's cool. And then let's organize an event. So it kind of helps to pop them up into the scene, I guess, a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just if provider said to me, like if I met a provider, I don't know, say from Adelaide, that were like, can you please come? We need your vibe down here. We can always have a discussion and we can have a talk and see if it is needed. I'm very big on like, I will go where it's needed. I don't want to go somewhere where I'm like, not saying they don't need me, but like if they've already established like a really fun networking event that works for them. But yeah, so that's pretty much what Connect Fest is, and we have as well some events that include with parents and families and things like that. They're more of a small dinner kind of event that we kind of come together and we invite providers along to be a part of it and things like that. So it's
awesome.
That's very new, but like that's something that we're bringing into the space as well.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Now, before you came on, I said I'm normally wrapping up after 25 minutes, Karen, but we're rattling on here. But I'm really loving the conversation. I know we briefly spoke at the beginning of the week when we were connecting around doing this talk around the social media. So like networking, I think you've given some really valuable advice today from a networking perspective. But I'd love your advice as well for my audience around like how do you show up on social media? What do you do? Do you just put pictures up and go, hey, I'm so-and-so business? Like how do you connect with people on social media?
I think it's about the content. So it's not, as I call it, PowerPoint slides. So like, I guess it's like when I say a PowerPoint slides, it's like, you know, like it'd be like me, Connect Fest. These are the services that I do. Contact me. I'm like, well, where's the human side? Where's the storytelling? There's nothing behind it to actually like give a bit more. So it's like, to me, it's about, I mean, I do a lot of videos, and I mean, I'm not saying everyone is a video kind of gal or guy. So I understand that can scare the bejeebs out of you, but you can do voiceover. So it's like your face is not actually on, you know, there. But I think to me, the first point of difference is that when you do, if you can capture it early enough, like if you're in that beginning stage and you're just putting your social media out there, you know, tell your stories, to tell them why that you've created your business and what makes you unique and different, and if you don't want to do a video, do a bit of a, you know, a blurb about yourself and then a picture of yourself, so that it's like that face to the name, so that we can understand who you actually are. Now, sometimes that can be tricky if you are in a business that you are, like I've worked with a lot of, nurses that are still within the hospital system, so they currently have their faces out there. There's ways around it. You can do the backs of you. Like no one's going to know you. Well, hopefully no one know your butt, but like, or your back. But like, you know, do it in the sunset. Oh, I know that butt. Yeah, like, you know, or maybe even having like, I've seen people. I'm just trying to think of like you know, they have a book, and they kind of like, I've got a card that's going to pop out, but like, you know, they're like, like. You can just see the eyes, you know what I mean? Like you can be fun. You can do fun things within regards to how you're putting yourself out there. But also as well, like every service that you do, you should actually be talking about how you do things differently. So I use the analogy, I feel like every event when I talk about this, I do this. It's like, okay, so if you're going to take a client, you know, or participant, whatever you like to call them, that, you know, we're going shopping. Billy, we're taking Billy shopping. Now, please do not do the photo of Billy. And he's like, you know, I've got my, you know, it's a token photo of we're taking Billy shopping. And he's at the front of Woolies, and you're just smile, Billy. And he's like, please don't do that kind of thing. To me, it is, I want to know as a parent. So my son, he's autistic and he has ADHD. He's 10, but like, even as a parent at a 10-year age, when he's older, this is what I would pick as a provider over someone who's got the photo of the token guy with the trolley. So what I would say is that, you know, you could take a photo of him, or you could talk about like what you do differently is you actually talk about, I guess, the experience that you've had with Billy. Okay, so Billy cannot go to, say he needs to go to Coles where it's the quiet hour because noise and all that kind of stuff just does his head in. Okay, we're taking Billy to Coles. We, you know, through the quiet hour, we're also doing maybe a treasure hunt to actually help him to go get his items. So we know that like at Coles and Woolies at the end of the aisles, you have like eggs on aisle 5. So like we're making a bit more of it a fun thing to be able to take Billy to the shops. He's learning a skill. We're doing all that. Think about it. If you just took a picture and you were like, we took Billy shopping to get his groceries today, I'd be like, Cool. Good for Billy. Or if we had a picture of like, to me, I would be like excited. I'd be like, this is how we take Billy, because these are the things that he's having.
I can just see this little reel of like, a picture of the quiet time and like a little video of the peace and quiet in Coles, and then a picture of the things, and then a picture of the cake that's made.
Like, you can even have like a treasure map. Like, think about it. Like,
I love
the thoughts are endless in regards to way that, like, social media does not need to be boring. It does not need to be like, as long as I always say to my providers I work with, as long as it's not rude and it's not like it's, you can be political if you want to be, but I always try and say leave your political stuff maybe outside of your business, because that can sometimes make people kind of like, I know people are very, especially with India, it's a bit political at this time, but it's like, got to think about your audience. Like, they may not actually really understand about all that kind of stuff. So, but it's just like, don't be rude. Don't put anything on there. But at the end of the day as well, with social media, if you put up a post and say someone's really rude and aggressive and they're like really like, I mean, I had a provider, which I think kind of funny now I look upon it, but it really wasn't funny at the time. I put a picture of a pig and I had my like glasses on it, and I was like, you can save money if you do this. So it's like a funny little thing. And then someone was like, oh, is that a self-portrait? And I was like, that's not nice. I was like, that's kind of hurtful. And I was like, it was kind of funny though. In the end of it, it was like, well, it peed me off a little bit. I thought, that's a bit rude. Come on, like, don't be an ass, like, But it was in a group, so I went to kind of, tell the admin about it. And the thing is, the guy had actually, they must have taken it down before I went to tag it because it was no longer there. But the thing is, he'd actually like blocked me afterwards, and I'm like, but you said the thing about me, but you blocked me, which I thought was quite funny. But in the big scheme of things, if you put something out on social media and you get for some reason you get someone who's a keyboard warrior, you can always delete the comment and you can block it, and you don't have to engage. And, some of your content, it may not reflect with people, but it's just about having fun and showing, I guess, like, to me, I work with my providers of going, let's get the fun out of you. And actually, I like literally say, and I've said this for years, I'm like, I literally go into your brains and suck out all that information, and then we make it really fun content and we create it. Because really, at the end of the day, this industry is a human to human industry. So if you keep being that boring, robotic stock, even stock photos and things like that, sometimes I use, not normally, but like maybe once in a while, like for a provider, I might use a stock photo, but like, it doesn't matter if you've got no clients, you can still do, you can still show to them how you would go grocery shopping, or how you would help them within regards to even ideas of like, say for instance,
even things like, I suppose, even if you like there's this new sensory play park in my local area, and like, wow, look at the bits,
like things that would interest your cohort of who you're trying to attract. So like, you want them to get connected with you.
Yeah. So Karen, if people are still sitting here going, yeah, I get what you're saying, Karen, I get that social media thing, but I still have no idea where to start, or like, I'm a bit different and I don't know how to put that message across. Is that something you can help with as well?
Yeah, so I help a lot of providers. I've been helping providers since like 2021 with essentially getting all that information out there, because I know that sometimes that's not everyone's forte, to be able to, like, I guess to me, I say like, I'm a storyteller, so I'll tell your story, I'll get it out there, I actually help with the creation of it, and then posting and then sharing it out into different groups, because I have like lots of different groups on Facebook and lots of connections through LinkedIn and things like that as well. So yeah, it is definitely something and I love to do it. I just I get excited because I'm like, oh, we get to tell your story, we get to tell people, and get like help, rather than going like seeing the PowerPoint slides, which make me cry.
Awesome. I'm so glad that we've had this chat today, Karen. I've got loads of valuable insights around the power of networking and things that can be done around social media. So I'm really thankful. If anybody wants to reach out to you, I'll put some details, some contact details in relation to you kind of under this live, so people can grab those. But thank you so much for your time, and I really hope to hopefully come along to one of your networking events and see for myself the fun that goes on. So thank you, and yeah, I look forward to connecting with you a little bit more in the future.
Thank you so much, Helen. I really enjoyed it. And, you know, I am here to help. If anyone wants to reach out and just have a conversation, I'm more than happy to help and just bounce ideas and things like that. But no, thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. And I love supporting people. And, you know, you're just a wonderful human being, Helen, of what you're doing and helping so many people, which I feel like we're just soul sisters. That's who we are. So thank you so much for having me.
I think I'm going to go pink.
Pink, you'll be 2.0, Helen.
2.0. Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. You have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you.